Hey, this is Math Minutes Pro with Dr. Harrison, and today we're going to talk about how to solve a two-step and multi-step equation, but in this case we're going to be dealing with a word problem. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about our process first. First, we're going to read the word problem, and we're going to read it again, and then after that we're going to identify either the question or what they're asking us to do. Then we will take a look at what's given. We'll choose a strategy, and in this case, I think we'll need to draw a picture as our strategy, and then we'll solve the problem. And so I'll narrate us through these steps of solving a word problem. So let's go ahead and read the problem. Says we have two adjacent angles that form a right angle. The measure of angle A equals 3 times x minus 5, and the measure of angle B equals 2 times x. Write and solve an equation to find the value of x. Okay, so let's read this again, and we're going to pay attention to some vocabulary and make sure we understand what's going on here. So we have two adjacent angles. Adjacent angles are angles that are next to each other, okay? And they form a right angle. That means these two adjacent angles are right next to each other and they make a 90-degree angle. That's the definition of a right angle. Now, the measure of angle A is 3 times x, okay? Minus 5, and then the measure of angle B is 2 times x. So let's go ahead and get a picture going first, so we can make sure we understand what's going on here. So let's draw a right angle, okay? This is our right angle. We'll put a square here that lets us know that it's 90 degrees. And then I'm going to draw a ray extending from the vertex. And let's label the angles here. It says we have the measure of angle A, and measure of angle A equals 3 times x minus 5, and that's really degrees, okay? So I'll put that symbol there for degrees. And then we have the measure of angle B equals 2 times x. So angle B equals 2 times x, and that's degrees, all right? Sometimes they'll put this in parentheses, so we'll just do that. All right. And we have to write an equation to solve this problem. Now, I always say this is a geometry problem, even though it falls under the category of Algebra 1. I say write an equation based on what you understand about the problem. Okay. Now, we understand that we have two angles that add up to equal 90 degrees. So then let's write that equation based on what we understand, okay? So we have two angles that is 3 times x minus 5 plus 2 times x, and they add up to equal 90 degrees. There it is. We have an equation that reflects this picture and the word problem. So now we're going to go ahead and solve it. Well, I noticed that we have two terms. Terms are separated by addition and subtraction. So we have 1, 2, 3 terms, but two terms are like because they have the same variable and the same exponent 1 that you don't see there, but it's 1 above that x. So we're going to use the commutative property of addition and group these like terms together. So I'm going to rewrite this as 3 times x plus 2 times x minus 5 equals 90. All right, so we brought our like terms together. Now let's combine like terms. 3 times x plus 2 times x is going to give us 5 times x minus 5 equals 90. Looking good. Now, to isolate that variable x, we need to get rid of this 5, the coefficient, and this 5, the constant. Now, to get rid of this 5, we need to get rid of this 5 first. What's the opposite of subtracting 5? We add 5. Whatever you do to one side of the equation, you do to the other side of the equation, draw our line. This is called the addition property of equality. -5 plus 5 is 0, so we cross that out. Bring down the 5 times x equals 90 plus 5 is 95. Very good. So I'm going to bring this over here, rewrite that 5 times x equals 95. Now, I need to get rid of this 5, the coefficient. The opposite of multiplying 5 times x, the opposite of multiplying x by 5 is to divide x by 5. So we're going to do our inverse operation, divide that by 5. And whatever you do to one side of the equation, you do to the other. Divide 95 by 5. And we divide this side by 5 because 5 divided by 5 is 1, so we can get rid of that coefficient 5. Bring down the x equals 95 divided by 5 is 19. And this is our final answer. So we were solving a multi-step equation, in this case, more than 2 steps. And we started out where we had to read the problem and draw a picture. And then we went from the picture to writing an equation based on what we understand about the picture, right? We had 2 adjacent angles that formed a 90-degree angle. That means that these are also called complementary angles, a geometry term, because complementary angles are 2 angles that add up to equal 90 degrees. So we wrote an equation. 3 times x minus 5 plus 2 times x equals 90. We solved the equation, and then we have x equals 19. So thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to check out my Patreon page on my video description below. On my Patreon page, you can get access to exclusive math lessons, study tips, live Q&A, and more. See you next time.